Today, I am so excited to show you some quick and easy Dollar Tree frame DIYs that'll give your space a stylish upgrade without breaking the bank. Dollar Tree has a wide variation of frames, so I grabbed a variety of frames for today's video. So for the first project, I will be using the simple white 8 by 10 inch frame, about 9 tumbling tower blocks, and this wood plank, all from Dollar Tree. I'm going to be trimming the plank to the width of the frame, so I lay that on top to measure and I trim that to about 9 5/8 of an inch. Next, I'm going to turn the frame over and I carefully remove the backing board and the glass. With some pliers, I pull out all of the metal tabs. I'll be gluing the blocks on the wood towards the bottom edge. So I add some hot glue on the narrow side of a block and I place that down horizontally on the bottom corner of the plank like so. And then I add some glue on another block and I place that vertically right on top, also gluing them to each other. And then place another block right on top of that like so. And then I glue some more blocks just like that on the opposite side. Next, I'm just gluing more blocks on the bottom edge, gluing them on the wood and to each other. It's not going to be a perfect fit, there will be some gaps, at least for one block. But everything else, I make sure to connect them to each other. I'll be painting the wood and the blocks white. I'm just using Apple Barrel's white acrylic paint. And I just brush that on all over the front and the sides. But you can paint this any color or even stain it. It would make a nice contrast to the white frame. Next, I'll be using some giant craft sticks. These are about 10 inches and I get these at Walmart. I'm going to trim them so that they fit nicely in the back of the frame where the backing board and glass usually sit. So I mark that and I just use scissors to trim them down. I want the wood to be a nice contrast. I'm going to stain them with this gel stain in the shade Walnut from Decor. So I brush that on and then I wipe it down. I'll be using hot glue to glue the craft sticks on the frame, but for the strongest hold, because of the material of the frame, I definitely recommend using a stronger glue like E6000, otherwise it can pop off. So I'm just placing them on the back of the frame and positioning them, spacing them out evenly. And once I have them where I want them to be, I glue them down. Now I ended up using 6 craft sticks, but if you want a tighter fit, you can add one more. So here's how the frame is looking. I really love the contrast. And finally, I apply some glue on the blocks and then I place that on the front of the frame, making sure it's flush on the bottom. I'm going to have this stand, but you can also attach some jute cord in the back if you want it to hang. Now you can add some stenciling on the front, add some wording, but I wanted to keep this one simple, just like that. Add some flowers and greenery and the simple DIY is done. For this project, I'll be using 4 of these 9 by 11 inch gold frames from Dollar Tree. Now I love that they individually wrap most of the frames at Dollar Tree, but once I removed the wrapping, there were still some scratches on it, but that was okay. So I'm just removing the backing board and the frame on all of the glass. I'll be placing them back, so I just put them to the side for now. I'll be gluing the frames together just like this, which I could have also done first, but before I do that, I'm going to brush this folk art metallic paint in the shade Antique Gold over the frames. I didn't really like the current gold shade and I wanted it to have more of an antique gold finish. I also go over that black inner border to tone it down and match. Now I only apply about 1 to 2 coats. Since the frame is already gold, that's enough. You can still see some of the scratches underneath with just a couple coats, which was fine because it really gave it that antique finish. Once the paint has dried, I turn the frames over. Now they're not all exactly equal in size. They're pretty close, but I did have to move them around until the sides looked as flush as possible. But one tip is to just double check before purchasing. I didn't think about that. I'll be using a combination of E6000 and hot glue to glue together. The hot glue just helps to clamp them together while the E6000 dries. Take your time with that, hold them together for a few minutes until the hot glue dries completely. Or if you want a more clean, tight finish, skip the hot glue. Clamping is a little tricky, but you can place some small blocks on the sides to give the clamp some grip. Now you can stop here. I think this is so pretty just like that. But I'll be applying this beautiful vintage looking wallpaper on the glass. I got this on Temu a while back. You can also get this pattern on Amazon. Dollar Tree also has some nice wallpaper as well. So I'm just measuring the amount that I need and then I cut it out. Since I'll be placing these on top of the glass, I cut them in 4 equal parts. So to place over the glass, I just carefully peel out a few inches of that white backing paper. It is very sticky and the wallpaper can rip if I'm not careful, so I peel that off very carefully. And then I just stick that on the edge of the glass and then I slowly peel out the backing paper, smoothing the wallpaper down. I'm also using a little plastic scraper to smooth it out as I'm pulling out the white backing paper, and this will help prevent any bubbles from forming. And once that's completely on, I continue to go over that with a plastic scraper. I get these at Dollar Tree. They're very similar to the Cricut one, but at a fraction of the cost. So I just continue applying the wallpaper to the remaining of the glass until all 4 are completely covered. Now these plastic frames are a bit flimsy, and since I'm going to be applying the glass back, I wanted to add some more support. I'll be gluing these bamboo sticks on the joints. I get these on Amazon and I'll be using a combination of hot glue and E6000 to glue them in place. Once I apply the glue, I hold the bamboo sticks down for about a minute to give that hot glue some time to dry and harden. I also use a square dowel to hold it down evenly while it dries. And then I just place the glass with the wallpaper back on the frames, as well as the backing board, and then I just push down those metal tabs to secure it in place. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, can you make sure to give it a thumbs up? Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Your support is so appreciated. I would also love to hear your thoughts in the comments below about what DIY projects you'd like to see in the future. And with that, we are done, and it really came together beautifully. For the next project, I'll be making a little lantern, and I'll be using 4 of these brown 4x6" frames from Dollar Tree. These have a nice textured pattern on the frames, which is really nice. So first, I'm going to turn the frames over and remove the backing board and the glass. And then I'm going to pull out all of the metal tabs. Now, one tip to make sure you don't damage or crack the frame, which I've done several times in the past, is to make sure you're pulling the tabs out horizontally, and it usually comes out nice and clean. Next, I'm going to glue the frames together to form a rectangle. I'm using E6000. So I apply a strip of glue on the inner side of the frame, and then I stand it up, and then I attach another frame to that so that it forms an L. I do add some tape around it to hold it together so that it doesn't fall apart while I'm gluing the rest of the frames. And then I add some more glue to another frame, and I attach that to the standing frame. I probably should have attached it to the other frame instead to make it easier, because I ended up having to wedge in that final frame with glue on its sides, and then clamp it or tape it up until it's completely dried. So for the base, honestly, I was just going to trim some craft sticks and slide them into the slots on the bottom and leave the top open and call it a day. And you can definitely just stop there and be done. But you know, I had some extra Dollar Tree wood blocks from a prior project I wasn't using anymore. There's even some hot glue remnants on one side, but because it was just hot glue and not wood glue, it was really easy for me to scrape out. I'll be painting the wood with this apple barrel acrylic paint in the shade Territorial Beige. I added just a little bit of water to thin it out a bit, and I brush the paint on that, and then I wipe out the excess before it dries completely. Now these will make the base and the cover of the lantern, and you can really paint it any color to complement the frame, which I will be leaving as is. For the lid or cover, I'll be adding these trimmed 1x2" wood and a tumbling tower block, both from Dollar Tree. And so I paint them to match. I do avoid the areas where I will be applying glue. So I apply glue on the larger piece, and I place that right in the center, and then I glue the tower block, applying glue on one of the sides, and I place that on top in the center of the trimmed wood. For the base, I flip it to the side that I want for the bottom, and I apply E6000 all around the top. You can also do a hot glue combo as well. And then I flip it over and place that right in the center of the bottom wood piece. Now for the lid, I wanted to make sure it doesn't slide out, so I glued some tumbling tower blocks. And I did place the lid on top, centered it, and marked it so that I knew how far out to place the blocks. Initially, I was going to place 4 blocks, and you can, but I thought 2 was just enough. And this adorable lantern DIY is done. I'm so glad that I added the wood base and top, and I couldn't be more happy with the way it turned out. For the next project, I'll be making a little riser tray, and I'll be using this wooden beaded frame from Dollar Tree. Now, I like the beaded detail, I just wish they were all full beads in shape. A few didn't look quite fully formed. I'll also be using one of these square planks from Dollar Tree, which came in a pack. I'll be painting the frame and the wood, but before I do that, I remove the backing board and the glass. I also pull out all the metal tabs. Next, I paint the square wood in the shade Territorial Beige from Apple Barrel, but you can paint or stain this any color you like. For the wooden frame, I'm just going to be dry brushing some white acrylic paint on top. So I dip my brush in the paint and then I dab out the excess paint, just so that it doesn't go on too heavy, and then I lightly brush over the whole frame. I'm just going over it lightly. I don't want to paint the whole frame white because I want most of the wood to be seen. And I also make sure to paint the sides. So here is how it's looking so far. To glue the square wood, I turn the frame over and then I add some glue on the inner edge of the frame. I'm using Titebond multi-surface glue and I place the wood right in the center. I'll be gluing these wooden beads on the bottom corners of the frame, so I just apply a little glue on the bead and then I place them down. And finally, I paint the beads that same color as the wood square, Territorial Beige from Apple Barrel, to match. This DIY is done and I really love how this turned out. For the final DIY, I'll be making an A-frame planter, and I'll be using 2 of these brown frames from Dollar Tree. It's not real wood, but it does have a wood grain texture, which I liked. First thing I'm going to do is remove the backing board and the glass, and then pull out all of the metal tabs. Next, I'm going to lightly brush over the frame with this grayish white paint. This is some extra sample paint that I had, and I'm just dry brushing the paint on all 4 sides of the frame. I'm not completely painting the frame white, I'm just lightly brushing over the surface to bring out that wood grain. After I do one, I do the other, and just by lightly going over that, you can really see the wood grain, and I like that. I also make sure to paint the sides. Now you can leave it like that, but I'm going to take it a step further, and after giving it a little time to dry, but not completely, I gently go over the frame with a damp cloth. I really love how it's looking. You can see more of the brown frame underneath and the wood grain pops out even more. So here you can see how both looks, one before wiping and one after, and I really like the after. For this next part, I'll be using some string, and I also trimmed a couple bamboo sticks to about 4.5 inches. You can also use popsicle sticks. I want the sticks to blend with the frame, so first I'm going to paint them with this dark brown color from Hello Hobby. And after that, I brushed some white paint over that very lightly, and I think that looked pretty close to the frame. Next, I'm going to be joining the frames together with the back sides together, and I'm wrapping the top of the frame with this white string. You can use ribbon or some jute string as well, but I'm not gluing it down yet. This is just going to be a temporary hold. So once I get that on, I stand the frames up and I pull apart the bottom so that it forms an A or a triangle. And I'm going to glue the sticks on the bottom, one on each corner like so. I'm using hot glue. You can definitely use a stronger glue, but honestly, I will most likely end up repurposing this project down the line anyway. Now, I'm only using 2 sticks, but you can certainly line the base with that. I think that would have looked really nice as well. But I do like it simple, just like that. Now for the top, I added a little hot glue to keep the tops together. You can also go for a stronger glue. Just lightly prop it open and add some glue in between. I want to hang this little metal pail, and there are multiple ways to do that. You can use S-hooks or grab a Dollar Tree shower curtain hook. These come in a pack, or get some decorative ones. You can also attach them with some cord or lace. I really like how this one turned out. Very simple, but so adorable. Hey, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate you taking the time to watch. Let me know in the comments below which one is your favorite. Until next time, bye!